Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health
Hello,
Show.
everybody. Welcome to the Real Life Health Show. I have another amazing guest. His name is Matt, and he has a company or a tag name, Raw Intuition. And I've been wanting to connect with him for a long time. He's on the show today, and it's since 2011 he's got involved in raw foods and veganism, and he's just a warrior out there for eating healthy. I'm so glad to have him on the show. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Paul. I've been watching you ever since I really got into this lifestyle. So I appreciate everything you do and appreciate the time to speak with you today.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, Matt, tell us a little about how you got involved in eating healthy and how your health was prior to that and where you're at now. And then we'll get into some more questions, but we want to meet you and hear all about your lifestyle.
Yeah, thanks. So I got into this lifestyle in 2011, like you said, and I grew up pretty much standard American lifestyle, like most people. A lot of animal products and processed foods. My family did. My mom made us a lot of home cooked meals, but it still came from a box a lot of the times or something, a bag. But yeah, I mean, I grew up with pretty much the common standard American health issues. I had asthma, eczema, uh, chronically dry skin. As I got into my teenage years, I started to gain more like depression and toxic thinking and things like that. And it wasn't until I was about 16 or 17, I started to lose my hair. And so that was kind of the catalyst that really pushed me into looking a little more into diet in terms of how to change the appearance of my body, specifically my hair. And so I started looking up how to stop hair loss, what I can eat to prevent hair loss. And it came up with, a lot of high protein animal foods. But one of the things that it did also come up with was spinach. So I started, eating a lot of big leafy green, spinach salads with chicken and cheese and ranch dressing and all that stuff. So definitely not my healthiest salads, but it got me into the habit of eating more vegetables for sure. And that really kind of, stuck with me for the next several years until I was about, 21. I mean, it was kind of a step-by-step progression of I was doing a lot of supplementation during those years as well. And then I came across a guy named Dan McDonald, and I started hearing about raw foods and juicing, and also I came across a juicing radio program that talked about juice fasting. And so I got interested in juicing. I ended up doing a 10-day juice fast to start off. That was kind of my introduction into the lifestyle. And I felt so amazing. I had more energy. I was sleeping much better. I was losing weight. My toxic thinking was starting to diminish, and that was kind of the thing that really opened my eyes. It was even just my mental and emotional, state shifted dramatically. And so from there, I decided to continue looking into this lifestyle, and I came across John Kohler, who I know you're friends with, and a doctor named Dr. Robert Morse. And so I started learning from those three guys kind of right out of the gate. And from there, I learned about people like yourself and, a lot of the people at the Woodstock Fruit Festival I started to follow. So I got a lot of different influences to kind of give me an understanding of how to make the lifestyle work. And I just kind of took bits and pieces from each person and kind of developed my own way of doing it. So yeah, 12 years later, I'm still really enjoying it.
Sure. So, how old are you now and how's your health now?
Yeah, so I am 36 now, and my health is great. I sleep really well. I have great energy. I hardly ever get sick. I think that's one of the things over the last 12 years that I've been living this lifestyle. I think I've maybe been what somebody might consider sick over like 4 or 5 times over the last 12 years. And that's like how much I got sick throughout 1 year previous to this lifestyle. So
Sure.
yeah.
Now, are you doing this alone? Do you have a family? Do you live by yourself? How's that been?
Yeah, so I live with my partner Celine. She also she's been vegan much longer than I have. She's been vegan, I think, 17 years now. So but she's high raw, she's just whole food plant based, and I'm, sometimes I'm 100% raw, sometimes I'm about 90-95%. It kind of fluctuates based on fruit availability, quality wise, and just different factors like that. But if I go anything less than about 90% raw, I start to feel my, just overall quality of life go down a little bit. So I like to stay at least 90% or higher. And yeah, so that's
Sure.
kind of how I do it.
Now, what's something you did at the beginning that you realized later on in the 12 years you're doing this that not that it was a mistake, but if I had to do it all over again, maybe I wouldn't have done that, or it wasn't best for me?
I think maybe one of the first things that I realized that I needed to change was the fat content of my diet. I was eating way more fat, and actually dehydrated foods as well early on. I could pretty much eat like 6 avocados at one time early on, and I felt good, doing that. But now if I eat more than one avocado, I don't really feel as great. So I adjusted the amount of fat. I got down, I don't really track my calories too much, but sometimes I check just to see. And I'm usually like around 12 to 15% fat. And so yeah, and the dehydrated foods, like I said, those are kind of the two things that I switched over
Sure,
time.
sure. And what about exercise? And do you get exercise, or are you like a lot of people on a raw food diet that say, "Oh, well, I eat well, so I don't have to exercise"?
No, I've always been into exercising. I'm not really a gym goer. Like I think you are. You love the gym, right?
I'm addicted to the gym.
Yeah, yeah. That's something I never got into really, is going to the gym. I like to do like at home workouts. I do push-ups and pull-ups, and I have a few weights that I work out with. But I've had little stints of going to the gym. I definitely get more muscular when I go to the gym and I have the equipment. But yeah, I'm pretty low maintenance with my workout routine. I just I try to work out at least 5 times a week for at least like 30 minutes to an hour every day. And I try to be outside as much as I can, hiking and things like that.
So a big thing for me is the distraction at home. There's too many distractions, and it's
Yeah,
the gym. I don't get distracted as much. I can
yeah.
focus and get it done with. So, so tell us about your sleep. How's that changed over the years? Like, what time do you usually go to sleep and get up? How's that your the hours you need?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sleep. So it's kind of back and forth. I ideally I try to go to bed by 10 o'clock, but when I'm trying to get all these projects done that I've been working on over the last few years, it really gets in the way of that. So lately, I've been more around 11 or midnight, and I wake up at about 7 ish around there. But yeah, ideally, when I'm not, trying to work on so many things at one time, I try to get to bed by 10 o'clock.
Sure, sure. So, what do you do for work? I mean, I know you do coaching and you promote this diet. I know you have a book out. But is this your main living, or do you do something else?
Well, eventually, I hope that this is my main source, or just what I live on. But currently, I work in human resources at a hospital. So
Oh, at a hospital.
yeah, at a hospital. So I
Interesting.
kind of live two lives.
Yes. So
Yeah.
when everyone's eating that hospital food, you're just taking out some raw fruit or something.
Yeah, yeah. I've always been, kind of a focal point in the office. Now I work from home. They got us working from home. But when I was in the office, yeah, I'd bring my watermelon, the whole watermelon to my desk, and I'd just cut that up and have that for lunch. Or, I'd have like 6 or 7 mangoes, and all the time people would stop at my desk and ask what I was doing. But yeah, most people were actually pretty receptive to it, and I definitely did. Get people thinking more healthfully about what they were eating. So that it was a nice opportunity.
Another thing that's interesting, you live in Minnesota, which is one of the coldest states in the country, and you're able to do mostly raw. So there's no excuses. I did mostly raw in Well, I did all raw in New York City for a long time. And no excuses, people. Here's a man in Minnesota that's doing it. There was even a raw food restaurant in Minnesota. And for many years, I actually went to a raw food restaurant in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I was like, wow. So
Yeah,
how does it
Ecopolitan.
how does the environment in terms of the cold climate, does it make it easier or harder, or it really is not a factor in what you eat?
I mean, it's not that much of a factor because, I mean, inside it's not cold usually. So, um, I mean, the biggest thing for me is just the quality of the fruit. The inconsistency of having quality fruit. Besides bananas and apples and things. That's usually if I'm gonna start eating more cooked food, it's usually because the quality of the fruit just isn't that great.
Yes, and there's many different ways to eat a raw diet. I know you mentioned eating a lot of fat at first, now you're eating less, and you mentioned the Woodstock Festival. So, in terms of the idea of fruitarian diet or raw diet or live foods with sprouts, where would you say you're at now? And do you find what you're doing now has been working best?
Yeah, I have taken, I've tried a lot of the different methods of eating a raw food diet, and I've just kind of like I've learned from a variety of people in the movement, and taken bits and pieces from everybody and made it into something that works for me. I kind of did the same thing with the different styles of raw food because they all have beneficial things to teach people, and they all have beneficial uh, effects on the body. So I am more high fruit. So I get probably 80% of my calories or so from fruit. So I basically eat fruit throughout the day, and then I have a big massive salad for my dinner. And that's what I've been doing for many years now, and it's been working really well. And really, that I one of the things that I think has helped me a lot has been the vegetables in my diet, especially the leafy greens. That is something, like I mentioned, I started doing even before I got into this lifestyle, and I was eating those big spinach salads. And I think that helped me even in my transition to not feel too crummy like a lot of people tend to feel sometimes when they transition. Yeah, so I think the greens they've always been a staple in my diet, and I think that's been a big part of my success.
And you wrote a book that I want to talk about in a moment, but do you take any supplements or have you taken supplements?
I the only supplement that I take regularly is B12. I went the first 7 years of being in this lifestyle, not supplementing with anything at all. I kind of learned early on that if you get clean enough, your body should be able to produce the B12 that you need. And so I went 7 years without supplementing, and then I did a blood test, and I was super low in B12. I was at like 80, and the lower reference range I think was 150 or something. So yeah, then I started supplementing B12, and that's the only one that I've consistently supplemented with. I've experimented with iodine and vitamin D, but I don't take those nowhere near regularly.
Sure. So tell us about the book you wrote, because it has to do with green salads. And I know it's a lot of people, everyone loves the fruit. And, I live here in Florida, I get the fruit right up the tree, but the quality of the fruit that you're getting in the stores, as you were saying, is not always consistent. Do you ever order from people that I promote online that are selling fruit, or do you usually just stick to what's in the store?
I have ordered online, definitely. I don't do it too often because it is a little more expensive. But I pretty much usually just stick with what's in the store. I try to go to different stores like the Asian markets and things like that. So we have a decent variety of grocery stores that usually have some pretty decent fruit. But like I said, sometimes it's hard to find good fruit.
What's your
But
favorite fruit of everything?
oh, good question. I would say durian.
Yeah, I knew
Durian's
you were
got to
gonna
be my
say
favorite.
that.
Yeah, it's so good. I need to get over to Asia so I can start having some fresh durian. I've never had actual fresh durian.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
So So tell us about your book that you wrote, because I'm really excited about it. Tell us about it, because I think it's an important thing that people need to understand. So tell us about it and why you came up with the idea, and let's get into that book.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate the question. And so, yeah, it's called 5-Star Salad Revolution. It just came out in paperback just a few weeks ago. And so I wrote the book because I really just saw a need for it in the community to, help educate people more and encourage people more to eat more leafy greens. That is one thing that I've noticed, in the raw vegan community or just in the vegan community. Not enough people are eating sufficient leafy greens, in my opinion. And so I wanted to share my story with how they've helped me, but also give people a well-rounded, just education on why greens are so important in the diet, and help people understand easy ways they can include more leafy greens in the diet. So yeah, there were several factors that kind of pushed me in the direction of this type of a book, but it's definitely, the lack of consumption of leafy greens in this community, and just the lack of understanding of why they're so important.
Sure. And do you just mean raw leafy greens, or are you talking about some cooked recipes with leafy greens in them in your book, or is it all raw?
It's all raw. All the recipes in my books are raw. Because I do think there's a special quality in raw fruits and vegetables and leafy greens. I'm not against people eating steamed greens or anything like that, but I think if you get the raw greens in, that's where the real power is at. So yeah, I put in, there's over 55 recipes in the book. There's green juices, there's green smoothies, and then there's what I call 5-star salads. 5-star salads, kind of the concept that I termed to help people understand how to build a leafy or a salad that was satisfying and kind of satiating and just met all of the nutritional qualities that I think people are looking for in salads.
Yeah. So how often do you juice?
Actually I don't juice as much as I used to. But maybe a couple times a month, if that. I kind of go in phases with juicing. I'm more of like a green smoothie consumer, and then just my big leafy green salads.
All right, that's amazing. That's so great. Now, I know you're not able to grow salad greens all year in your garden in Minnesota in the winter, but
Yeah.
I know you are able to grow in the summer, in the spring, in the fall. Do you have your own garden out there?
I wish. We live in an association where we can't have gardens in the yard. So what we do is we sprout and do microgreens.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. So that's the best we can do right now. I've been looking for, a long time for a place to move in, Florida or somewhere else in the southern states where I can, hopefully grow my own fruit and then have a nice big garden, but still working on that.
Very nice, very nice. And so how's the book doing? I mean, are people getting a lot of them?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's selling great, and I'm getting a lot of great feedback. This is actually I think people are more excited about this one even more so than my last book, which was more of it's called 21 Day Raw Transformation Program, which is just kind of an introduction and education on how to incorporate a raw food lifestyle into your life. But this, I think, it's more focused on one thing that people can really take charge of. And, it's simple and delicious to make these big leafy green salads. And so, yeah, people love the recipes. Salad dressings are one of my favorite things to create. And so I've got 17 brand new salad dressing recipes that I have never before released until this book. And then 5 fat-free dressing recipes if people want fat-free options.
Nice. Now you have a YouTube channel as well, correct?
Yep. Yeah, Raw Intuition. Yep.
Yeah, so from what, and I'll put all these links below the video to his book and to the YouTube channel, all of that. But from what I vaguely remember is your YouTube channel has some pretty popular videos. I mean, you got some that have been up there in the numbers, right?
Yeah, I've got some ones that have done pretty well. Definitely, yep.
Yeah, I mean, that did set you apart from a lot of the other people doing this diet, because I remember as I always look to see who's out there, who's doing what. And, I always enjoyed what your channel had to say and the stuff you're doing. So keep up the great work with that. And
Thank you.
so with this book, are you just promoting on your channel, or are you doing a tour, or how are you getting the word out there?
I mean, at this point, it's pretty much just been social media, Instagram and YouTube. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I would love to do a tour eventually. I don't know when that's going to happen, but one of these, months, I'm going to try and do something like that. But yeah, I'm just trying to get people, excited about eating leafy greens, and including more of these, I think greens are the superfoods of the plant-based world. I think superfoods, people think, come in fancy packages and the other side of the world, but I think there's superfoods growing in your yard, or in your neighborhood, that you can incorporate into your diet that can make a huge difference in your life.
You know what's interesting is over the years, I mean, I have a nice garden besides all the fruits that I grow, and just with all the traveling I've done over the years, and even now, the most consistent thing I've done without changing in the with the raw foods is I've went to the store and I got a pack of greens, and I would just eat that for my meal. Maybe sometimes I'd have an avocado in one hand and a salad greens in the other hand, but I like a nice salad. I love a nice salad. I love a nice raw recipe, but my main meal over the years has just been grabbing spinach or kale and having an avocado or a few sprouted nuts, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so I love the salad dressings, and you have a lot of recipes salad dressing in your book. I know you said they make a great difference, and it's so wonderful. Let me ask you this: have you noticed eating late at night is not the best thing for you, or are you the type of person that you fast all day and then just eat a lot late at night? What have you noticed with that?
So I try to, like you promote, with your daylight diet. I do try to follow that and eat during just daylight hours. I pretty much, I do intermittent fasting kind of just naturally. I don't even really attempt to do it. It just happens. I usually have my first meal at about 10 or 11, sometimes even noon. And then I'll have my lunch a few hours later, and then I'll have my dinner salad around 5:30 or 6, and then I don't eat after that. So I try and keep it within a pretty, like an 8-hour window or so,
Sure.
depending on when I start eating. So yeah, and that works out really well.
Absolutely, it's the way to go. I found that to be the best, and that's wonderful. Well, great. Your book's wonderful. I'm going to put your website and all that information below. Is there anything else you want to mention for people to know about besides the links below, how to get your book, or any specials, or are you doing any special projects right now besides the book?
Actually, not necessarily right now. I'm not, but I hope to start a new show on YouTube eventually here, where I'm going to be going live weekly. So people can definitely go over to my YouTube channel and subscribe to catch that when it comes out. But otherwise, I'm just going to hopefully be promoting the book more, and my other 2 books that I have as well have been doing well, and so that's kind of my project at this point, is just getting my books out there and helping as many people as I can. And yeah, I appreciate the time to come on your channel and share it with your audience.
Well, I definitely would like you to come in the future, maybe do some food demos and show people some of the salads you make. And yeah, I mean, I used to travel a lot to Minnesota and all over, but I'm not traveling much now. But maybe one day you'll get to the tropics, and
Yes.
you can come here and taste some of the amazing fruit. But it's definitely great catching up with you, everybody. I'm going to put Matt's information below the video, all his links. Click on them and make sure that you pick up his book. And that's great. Thanks again for coming on, Matt.
I appreciate it, Paul. Thank you so much.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life